Everyone
Morning.
this morning.
Great,
Excellent.
thank you.
Great.
Great.
So before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the traditional ancestral unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We would also like to acknowledge the significant foundations that Black and African Nova Scotian communities have played in building our province and country. Today, we are hosting the final session of our virtual stakeholder forum with a panel of 3 local businesses. These organizations have had to innovate interesting programs for a long time, but all have had to pivot and adapt to COVID-19. Today, we're excited to speak to our panelists about how they are staying innovative, moving their business forward during these changing times, and how they've involved their employees, their clients, and their communities in their efforts. So first, I'd like to introduce Patty Howard. With over 20 years of experience in the food and hospitality industry, Patty started Kitchen Door with a vision to bring approachable restaurant quality food to events around Nova Scotia. Originally from New Brunswick, and we'll forgive her for that, Patty graduated UNB and headed south to study culinary arts at Johnson & Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island. After spending many years honing her craft in Alaska, Muskoka, Ottawa, and Chicago at the famous Spago restaurant, Patty returned to her maritime roots. After working for others for 10 plus years, she took a giant leap and started Kitchen Door in 2008, right after the birth of her first child. Wow, that's impressive. The company has grown exponentially under her leadership, and in 2019, the company moved its headquarters to Dartmouth after building an 11,000 square foot custom facility that houses a state-of-the-art commissary kitchen, cooking class studio, retail and event spaces, as well as offices. And since COVID-19, a new CFIA manufacturing facility, Canadian Food Inspection Agency, facility that pumps out more than 150,000 cookies a month. Patty lives in Bedford with her husband, Ted, and her 2 children, James and Kathleen. Thank you for being here with us today, Patty.
Thanks for having me.
Next, I'd like to introduce Saeed Eldarali. Saeed is president and CEO of Simplycast, a leading provider of multi-channel automated marketing services. Saeed is the driving force behind Simplycast, which has grown to serve clients in 175 countries. That's virtually all the countries in the world. Pretty close. Under his leadership, Simplycast has been awarded the 2017 Consumer Choice Awards for Digital Online Marketing, the Game Changer Award for Best Youth Employer, Medium Business, and 2 Bronze 2016 Halifax Business Awards. And Saeed himself was the 2016 Bronze recipient of the Business Person of the Year. Saeed has over 15 years of management experience. He holds a master's of an MBA, a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, a Certificate of Human Resource Management, and minor in economics, all from St. Mary's University. I suspect you get a few calls to support their for donations and such. Saeed's involvement in the community includes Simplycast many local sponsorships and his own personal volunteer work. Saeed is an advisor with the Federal Innovation Roundtable through the Government of Canada, an alumni coach and supporter of Junior Achievement Nova Scotia, the previous chair of Youth Retention and Immigration for the One Nova Scotia Coalition, and a member of the advisory committee for the Sobey School of Business, and mentor for various organizations, including the Canadian Youth Business Foundation and the Entrepreneurs with Disabilities Network. Welcome, Saeed.
Thank you.
And finally, I'd like to welcome Steve Parsons. Steve is presently the General Manager Corporate Division for the Escanoni First Nations, which is nestled on the beautiful Brador Lakes in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. Since 2001, Steve has worked with the First Nation community of Eskasoni, both as a secondary teacher delivering business curriculum courses and as an economic development consultant. Since 2013, Steve has been working as the general manager of the Eskasoni Corporate Division, which has been engaged and responsible for the creation of new revenue streams for the Eskasoni Band, along with the creation of several joint venture businesses both on and off the reserve. In 2008, and again in subsequent 4-year terms of 2012 and 2016, Steve was elected to the Cape Breton Victoria Regional School Board District 3 as a board trustee, holding the positions of vice chair and chairman. Steve has also served as a board member on several companies and foundations, including the Cape Breton University Board of Governors, the Cape Breton Partnership, the Eskazoni Wind Company Limited, and most recently, the Provincial Advisory Committee to the Minister of Early Childhood and Education for a 2-year term. In October 2020, Steve was elected as District 7 Councillor with the Cape Breton Regional Municipality. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you.
So today, folks, we're here to talk about our panelists on doing business differently, not just during the pandemic, although that's important, but in general. How do they set themselves apart from the competition? How do they make an impact on their bottom line, their employees, and their community? So if you do have any questions for the panelists, please use our chat feature, as Tanya had mentioned earlier, and we will take the questions at the end if there is time. So I'm going to start with you, Patty.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about your business, where you're located, what you do, and how many people do you employ?
Sure. So I'm the owner of Kitchen Door. We started as Kitchen Door Catering, but we've really moved into just shortening it to Kitchen Door, and we're really an innovative food company. That's sort of our tagline. So we're all about scratch food, using as many local products as we can. And what started really as a full service catering company. So I started with weddings mostly and sort of corporate serviced events, has now sort of turned into what we call multiple revenue streams, multiple buckets. And so we had pre-COVID, we had our retail prepared foods, we had our core revenue, which was offsite catering, drop-off catering. Then we also, in our new location, which I'll talk about in a second, we built a custom cooking studio that we did private and public classes around cooking and team building, that kind of thing. And then we also have some contract catering. So we are also the food provider for Meals on Wheels in Halifax. So we have a variety of different revenue streams that come into play. As you mentioned, we built a brand new facility last year in 2019, and we had about 9 months under our belt when COVID hit in March. At the time, we were employing about 27 full-time people, and we had another 25 to 30 what we call our moonlighters or casual that would come and work events with us. They also had other employment. March 13th, I'll never forget it. We went down to four staff members. We had seen all of our business just drop off. And then we sort of said, okay, how are we going to make it through? And really focused on our prepared meals. So again, something that had been a less than 10% of our revenue then turned into our only revenue source, other than continuing with Meals on Wheels, which is not a highly profitable venture.
Sure.
So we pivoted, and within a week, I built an online store, and we started curbside pickup and delivery. And that, when we were in the first 3 months of lockdown, we did quite well in the sense that there wasn't a lot of other options out there. So we were able to sustain. And within about 3 weeks, I realized, okay, we can start to bring some of the team members back. And so currently, as it stands today, we're back to 14 team members, which is great. We were approached by another company out of PEI called Yo-Yo Cookies. If you haven't had them, they're really good. For us to make their product under license. And so all of that transitioned in July, August. And so we got inspected. You mentioned the Canadian Food Inspection Agency we now have an inspected facility, and we pump out over 150,000 cookies a month. We we were in about 169 retailers between PEI and Nova Scotia. And next week we launch into 21 Sobe stores and 22 stores on Newfoundland, the Coleman's line. So it's busy.
Yo-Yo Cookies. And the holiday season is coming, so if you don't want to bake, there you go.
Exactly. Yeah.
So Steve, I'm going to pivot to you now, sir. Eskazoni has seen a lot of development in business over the last few years with the announcement of the long-term facility in 2019 and the launch of the Eskazoni Communications this summer. Exciting things were happening in Eskazoni. How has businesses changed or had to change during COVID-19? And has this impacted your future plans for business growth?
Well, when we started in 2013, it was under the mandate of basically providing for revenue streams for the band and employment opportunities for band members. So our mandate, given as it was, we started creating what I refer to as capacity building through joint ventures.
Mhm.
And nothing new, no secret about joint ventures, but basically it creates the opportunity for Iskazoni band members, which we have a lot of, who have skill sets and trades, to enable them to identify an opportunity to go to work within reserve and off reserve. And so we started 7 years ago, and ironically, in 7 years, we created 7 joint ventures. So initially, the first 7, we have about 60 employees, a full complement of 60 throughout. When I say companies, we have a crane company, where we have operators from the community. We have a freezer storage facility in Sydney, 65,000 square foot, which we presently house 3 million pounds of bait for next year's season. And we also have a live lobster pound in there to hold 250,000 pounds of live lobster. We have a wind company in Truro, for example, the 5 windmills that you commonly see going towards Halifax. That was our first project. We own the first 2 of those. So again, outside of the reserve are doing very well. So we said, what could we do within the boundaries of the reserve to create economic opportunity? So it was noted 5 years ago when we started on the track of doing a feasibility study, putting together a business plan for a long-term care facility. We're presently the groundwork is done. We're actually pretty much our groundwork is done. We have operators from Iskazoni on that with the contractor. And we're also engaged in our economic Iskazoni Communications Limited, and that it will be an owned and operated, full-fledged ISP that will we own and operate with a partner, Seaside Cable out of Sydney. So again, we've got 3 technicians hired. We got 2 vans. We're going out now and doing a marketing campaign on who wants to sign up. Hopefully, we'll have everybody in the community sign up under a bundle package, which considering what they're paying for the services today versus a bundle package, we will be able to split their costs in half for cable, phone, and internet, and high-speed internet. So yeah, things are busy. We're doing an expansion of our existing strip mall. We're talking to some popular, I can't say, proponents of coming in and signing leases with them. So things are excited. People are working. People are happy. It was certainly a challenge during the initial pandemic of COVID. We had to make certainly some adjustments. As you're probably aware of, we shut down the reserve. We locked it down. And, we're planning, our EMO team is ready faced with the circumstances of today with the climb of cases. So we're ready, we're organized, and we'll react accordingly when we need to. But as far as business goes, a lot of positivity, a lot of opportunities. I got a class of 20 started with NECC as far as continuing care assistants. They're in training now, and so creating opportunities. People like it.
So the long-term facility sounds like it'll be able to hit the ground running with, you'll have access to high-speed internet, and you have some long-term care facility workers in the pipeline. So
yeah,
that's great.
What we do basically is we have a partnership with Shanix Nursing Homes.
Mm-hmm.
They will manage and operate it. And over a time, when our people get trained and have the experience of running it through management experiences and timing, then we'll eventually take it over ourselves. But initially, we always create with a partner who are the experts in their field, and then we learn from that, we get experience, and we go on from there.
Great. Saeed, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
Great. So Simplycast is a leader in marketing automation software, but I know COVID has hit your business as much as others. We've seen in the news that your employees are working from home. What else have you done to ensure Simplycast remains successful? And what have you done to ensure employee wellness and engagement during this time?
Sure, yeah. So Simplycast is almost 11 years old. We started back in the Great Recession, I guess that's what they're calling it. And our goal was to help any type of organization, small, medium, large, nonprofit, realtors, to basically engage better and increase the opportunity for personalized communication. Our company has been in business now in many countries. Local clients that we've secured that you would know. Pretty much every university, college, Credit Union Atlantic, for example, is a great client of ours, and Eastlink and many others. And recently, we've started working with a lot of government and municipal clients as well. As a company, we've always tried to stay ahead of the curve as much as possible as being an innovation company. We have about 40 and growing to about 45 employees. When about 2 years ago, we decided that it's time for a company in Nova Scotia to have a certification certification, which is called the 27001 certification. What
Mhm.
that does is it makes sure that every part of your organization is standardized, documented, and every procedure is in place. Not as strict as the food inspection rigor that you have to go through, but it's probably as costly and maybe sometimes more. So we went through that process about 2 years ago, and when COVID hit, around January, February, we decided that it was time to start thinking about sending our employees home. So this was prior to COVID, lockdown. So around
Mhm.
Feb 14th, we said to the team, let's begin the planned rollout to sending you home. And they said, Said, but there's
Happy
not a lot of
Valentine's Day.
not a lot of cases are here. I said, look, it's a pandemic. I did a lot of reading on it, and if the audience would like, if you're on a computer, you can just type in Simplycast in the word pandemic, and if somebody in the comment will tell me what the date of that article is, I think you'll surprise a lot of people. So just type in Simplycast and the word pandemic in Google, and just see if you can find that date and put it in the chat. So our company was always kind of trying to stay ahead of the curve, but we said, hey, let's try to see if we can send our employees home. And when we sent them home in February, around March time, the government came in and said, hey, we got to lock things down. So around that time, I said it's probably time for us to do a little bit of an addition to our services, and we started a COVID division, if you wish, where we said we're going to start finding every possible way that our technology, without having to reinvent the wheel within our existing technology. So thanks, Angela. So November 24th, 2017 is when we kind of predicted that someday a pandemic would happen, and then our solution would be used for that purpose. Not ever wanting a pandemic to happen, but we just wanted to see if our technology would fit that model. So around March, we basically kickstarted the division and said, hey, we're going to find every possible way that we could help the community free of charge, utilizing the technology that we have. And since then, we have now signed probably 4 major government contracts. One of them is out west, where every single person entering the country has to basically get their daily check-ins using automated technology that we built right here in Nova Scotia. We just signed another contract with a territory, with a jurisdiction, a territory as well. We have a number of contracts around the world that are coming in, and a whole country that's actually coming on board in the Asian and African areas as well. So you can imagine a whole country coming on board to engage using technology built right here in Silicon, Dartmouth. So
That's awesome.
we're very proud of the team that we built here. Since then, we have not been able to take advantage of any of the government programs because our revenue didn't really go down much. I think it was down to 3 to 4%. We got scared a little bit because we started seeing some of our smaller clients canceling, and we said, hey, what we're going to do is give you access to the solution for free because you can't afford it. But they said, majority of those customers that canceled were in the tourism hotel industry. So we understood that was going to be a hit, but within months they started coming back, and the business to continue to flourish. With COVID, we found that people were very productive working from home compared to what the studies have shown. I think if you empower your employees and show them that you truly trust them and care for their well-being, I think that potentially gives you the strongest return on investment. And we've been doing that since day one, so it hasn't really changed. I think the opportunity of working from home has kind of reduced the expenses for a lot of our employees, where they're now saving a lot more money, eating out less, which is not helping our businesses in the area that we're in, but it's potentially increasing the happiness of our employees. So that's what we thought. And then about 4 months into it, our employees started asking to come back. And I was very surprised. And the reason why they wanted to come back is they missed the free food that we had in the office, and the Nerf guns, and the social aspect of our company, because we're a lot of fun from that perspective. But people, mental health became, because you're in an isolation. So we asked our team to, whoever wanted to come back, voluntarily, and about half of the team came back. And now we're sending them home again just in case a second wave is to hit. So we're kind of trying to stay ahead of that as well. So the final piece, I guess, that we're doing as well, that's kind of changed the way that we do things, is that part of my life mission is to end youth unemployment, and that's been my work for the last 15 years. So we've decided to invest probably close to $100,000 out of our revenues to basically bring in as 30 co-op students in January.
That's incredible.
And our goal is to basically help out many of the students out there and support them in this very, very rough time, because a lot of companies are not hiring. And our goal by the end of next year is, if this kind of pilot of 30 works out for us, we're going to probably hire up to 100 interns for next year. And what that will do is many of those folks will be graduating next year as well. So as they leave the job, that's kind of a capacity building opportunity where we train them, we know how they work, and then we can just offer them a position as soon as they leave. So our company's growing, very quickly right now, and it's a bit of a good times and stressful times for as we ramp up. But we're pretty excited. We have a great team, and we're hoping that a vaccine does come out, because we want to get back to the normal business rather than just COVID business.
Oh, I agree. Once the novelty of working from home wore off, I think we all miss the social interaction that you have,
Exactly.
with your coworkers, and
Absolutely.
just getting up in the morning and actually having to put on dress pants and such, and go to work, rather than laze around in your shorts or pajamas and do your work that way. Yeah,
Exactly.
100%. So Patty, Kitchen Door moved to a new location right before the pandemic hit us. Timing is everything. With more room for hands-on classes and expanded retail space. Quickly after the restrictions were in place, you had to unfortunately lay off the majority of your staff. Since then, Kitchen Door Catering has expanded your offering, and brought back most of your staff. Can you tell us a little bit about that transformation and how you did navigate through it to get back to what the quote unquote the new normal business looks like?
Well, let's hope the new normal isn't staying long. To be bluntly honest, it was probably the most challenging thing I've ever had to do as an owner. And we've pivoted. I mean, there's part of me that really hates that word. It's like eternally pivoting, but it is the only way that in which we survived. So we just really tried to hone in on what we did well and where we could, focus our energies and time. We're actually part of us. The 11,000 square feet. We're actually subdividing about 2,500 of it off, and creating a separate unit and leasing that to another company that I'm involved in that needed space. So we've done some things with the space. The footprint of our retail, which was quite large before, we've shrunk that right down. So once we never reopened our doors in terms of the public, we're still only curbside pickup and deliveries. So once we get to sort of the other side of COVID and there's less risk, we will open a smaller retail footprint. And then potentially we will reopen for cooking classes and private events. That way we have left the floor plan. But right now, the cooking studio is yo-yo land, as we call it. So that's our inspected space. So, we manipulated the space to try to limit our overhead and our expenses, but it's super challenging. We went from a business that constantly had money coming in the back end from receivables, and we constantly had event business on the other side that was always coming in, and now we've gone to a straight cash in, cash out everyday business. It's really the only way, and those are really challenging things to do. And the other side of that is we've basically ramped an entire new company in the last 3 or 4 months in what normally you would do in a couple of years, and to ramp that you need money and cash and all the things that are you've depleted over the last 8 months trying to stay afloat. But I'm being optimistic. The long term is definitely good, and I actually think the model that we've created now will actually sustain us better and be more profitable in the future once we get our volumes back up, and once we sort of so I think really you just have to be scrappy and figure out how to make it work. And that's really what, people in the food industry are definitely scrappy individuals. And we definitely know how to make things happen. So that's what we did.
I think earlier you said you source most of your raw materials locally. Is that correct?
Yeah, we try. I mean, I'll be frank. There's, in the middle of February, there's not a lot of local that you can get from. But yes, definitely in season.
I guess where I was going to go with that is for everyone who's on the call, you might want to spread the word if you want. If you're hosting a small event at home during the holidays, and you want to, you don't feel like cleaning up the mess and whatnot. I mean, hey, There's a great opportunity here with Kitchen Door to cater your event. You just pull up
Thank
to
you.
the curb, pick it up, and
Yep.
go on your way. No muss,
And
no
even just,
fuss.
weekly meals and things, that's been great. The one thing I will say is, holiday would typically be a huge event month
Sure.
for us. And so we've really tried to change how that happens. So there's companies that are hosting virtual parties. So we're doing virtual grazing boards that are being delivered to
Oh,
200
awesome.
employees here. And turkey
What a
dinner used
great
to be on a
idea.
buffet. Now we're doing turkey dinner individually boxed and dropping it either at their homes or at the office so they can do all the social distancing and follow all the rules and the protocols. So
Love it.
you just have to be innovative a little
Yeah,
bit and sort of
exactly.
think, yeah.
We are, if we found nothing else during this whole pandemic, is Nova Scotians are pretty resilient, number one,
They
and
are.
pretty innovative. Like kudos
Yeah.
to our business leadership across the province. A lot of great companies have
Yeah.
I know you don't like the word pivoted, but
I
have
know.
adapted, I guess,
Adapted. There you
to
go.
the way they've done things, and it's a great news story. So, Steve, I'm going to turn a question over to you, sir.
Sure.
What is the best, and this is for all of you, but I'm going to start with Steve. What is the one best piece of advice you give business owners who are trying to get through the pandemic with their businesses and keeping their sanity intact?
I would say think outside the proverbial box. We're going through something that we've never been gone through before. We're experiencing ups and downs with it. We've got employees that are reluctant to come to work because of social distancing.
Mhm.
It's somewhat scary, and it's how you react to it and how you support your employees. Genuinely showing that you're concerned for their health and welfare. That it comes back kudos to you as an employer. We've struggled sometimes with families. Of course, everybody has their families looking after the kids, and some of our employees work from home. Personally, myself, I came to work every day since March, but it's because we adapted practices within our administrative offices. But it's think outside the box. There's lots of support out there in terms of resources. I know in our particular case, the federal and provincial governments have certainly helped us out in terms of some financing and some programs that specifically that we could depend on. We've done that, and I hate to say it, we're facing a pandemic, but don't panic.
No.
We'll get through it, and staying positive and say, listen, we're going to get through this. There's going to be better days ahead. Ironically, for our community, when we shut down, our employment increased. We were the anomaly. I had to hire 50 security guards. Why? Because we shut down our community. And our Foodland store, our sales quadrupled in our Foodland stores because people couldn't go outside the community to shop. And in our Foodland, I had to hire another 20 people to help out with stocking shelves and ordering food. And kudos to Sobeys. Sobeys kept us whole in terms of our ordering and so on and so forth. But I think we face a little bit of a different dilemma. We locked down, but at the same time, we've created opportunities. So it's ironic because I have friends outside the community. I didn't go to their house. I used to leave work and go home, but that was my decision to come to work. And a lot of people made individual decisions, but as a business owner, staying positive, think outside the box, use those resources, apply for those funding applications, and we'll get through it. Just staying positive.
Great. Saeed, same question. What one piece of advice would you give business owners trying to get through the pandemic while keeping their sanity intact?
Absolutely. So something I actually did when I got married, which was, important to do. And I started businesses since I was 12, 13 years old. So, but this specific opportunity that I said I needed to do when I got married was to actually do an actual cash flow. And a lot of business people don't do it. And I think that's really important. If you were to sit down and actually, pull out an Excel spreadsheet or even a piece of paper and just say, look, this is what I need to survive on. Here's what I have to do to get X, Y, and Z. And I did that when I got married. I said to my wife, I said, look, I'm not making a lot of money. I'm only 23 years old right now, and this is how much I make, and this is how much I can spend. This is what we could do for blah blah blah. And I wrote it all down, and she looked at it. She goes, you're going to plan everything? And I said, yes, because we can't spend money we don't have, and I'm not going to go into a lot of debt in the early days. So I think, our federal government, provincial government are doing a great job, but I think getting into debt and not knowing how you're going to pay for it in the future is a dangerous thing. So having a cash flow in front of you, reaching out to someone that you can ask for help, and just understanding what you need to do to get to that, to that point of hopefully no return, because if that happens, then I think you're going to be in a much bigger problem. So spending the time to doing a cash flow is really, really important. And if there's one thing to keep you sane and give you confidence that we're going to get through this, I believe is a cash flow, because it gives you the actual facts rather than just hope.
Right. Yeah, hope is not a strategy.
Absolutely.
And Patty, the same question to you. What piece of advice would you give business owners who are trying to get through the pandemic with their sanity intact?
I think I would echo what both other panelists have said. I think, it's very difficult to stay positive when you're coming up against, really a huge amount of challenges on a daily basis. So I think positive is definitely important. I also think, we've always been sort of open with our staff in terms of communicating what's happening and being transparent. And I think that's really important. That certainly helped us during the pandemic. We, some team members were nervous, and so we addressed that. And how could we make things better? And truthfully, we haven't opened the retail shop for the sake of our employees.
Right.
In terms of, yes, we're still doing curbside, and I'm sure there are clients that would love to come in and peruse and touch and feel. And we just said it's not worth the risk at this point, and it's not really going to generate much additional income. If they really want it, they can click and we can bring it out to their trunk, no problem. So I think, engaging them in the choices that you're making as a business and making sure that they feel safe and secure and they get behind you. And I think that once you have a team behind you, it's really kind of easier to move forward as a group than it is as the one lone leader at the top, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think communication is very key. I know we did that at NSAR, communication rate from day one, and constant communication. And I think one of the consequences coming out of this is going to be folks' mental health, and I think that that's going to be important to address now. Is there are resources out there for employers to use to help, because everyone deals with anxiety in a different way, right? Not everyone. Some people compartmentalize it. Some people, express outwardly. So everyone has their own ways of dealing with it. But I think it's important that folks know it's okay to deal with it. We haven't been through a pandemic since 1917, so over a century ago. So this is new to everyone, right? So I'm going to actually open it up now to the audience to see if there's any questions.
Yes, Roger, we do have 2 questions.
Awesome. So Tanya, well, maybe I'll get you to ask the questions because.
Sure.
Oh no, I see them now.
Oh, you see them there?
Yeah,
you go ahead.
So this one is coming from Damien, and it's a question for Patty.
Okay.
Do you currently conduct distribution on behalf of any local businesses? And if so, what criteria do you look for?
It's a great question. We don't. It's certainly a revenue model that we're looking at as we've developed and we're distributing the yo-yo cookies. We've looked at a couple of models, the covered bridge potato chip model and a few different things. So definitely it's one of those, again, pivoting things that we're looking at. There are some local, Banda Bars is one that does only local distribution through Atlantic Canada. So that would be somebody, if you're looking for that, they do carry cultured coconut, a variety of kombucha and things of that nature, but it's definitely something we're considering as we grow in the CFIA and licensed manufacturing. Yeah.
So not to get too sales pitchy here, but the yo-yo cookies, what kind of flavors do they come in? The holiday season is approaching, so.
They actually come from New Zealand. So they look like a yo-yo. They're 2 shortbread cookies, all butter, and they come in 5 flavors. Original vanilla. No, none at all. Original vanilla, zesty lemon, salted caramel, Oh My Chocolate, and espresso pumpkin spice. And so it's 2 cookies, and then they're piped. We hand pipe every one and we sandwich them together so they look like a yo-yo. They're 6 to a bag, and they're between $6.99 and $7.50 at retailers, and they make a great gift, and they're absolutely delicious. And don't eat the whole bag. You'll definitely regret it.
With a big glass of milk.
Yeah, exactly.
And they'll be available at Sobeys.
Yeah, by the end of next Friday, we'll be in all of HRM Sobeys. Right now, we're in the co-ops, the food lands, through mainland Nova Scotia and PEI. We're in Wilson's gas stops, SOs, all sort of a lot of the independent. That was sort of the model how we built it.
A perfect road trip food if you're traveling within the Atlantic bubble.
Yes.
The next question is for you, Stephen. Is there an effort made to ensure that the majority of employee at the new long care home are from the local community, since it will be run by another company?
Actually, the only position that will be of Shannix will be the building's chief executive officer. All other jobs will be fulfilled with current and present people in training. So they will oversee the operations. We project a complement of 80 people throughout. What we did when we decided on building it out was to maximize the job. So we'll be doing all of our own cooking within the facility. And in fact, we got to have 2 different kitchens because, of course, in First Nations, we have wild meat and stuff, and you can't cook that in the same kitchen as your regular meals. We're also going to do our own laundry facilities. Why? Because we want to maximize every job opportunity we can. So outside of Shannix one employee, they'll all be employees of this First Nations owned company. And we'll have a management agreement with Shannix for 5 years with renewable, which we'll decide at that point in time. So we've got people in training. We've trained CCAs in the past 4 years in anticipation of getting the funding. We've got another class presently in training, and we're starting a new cohort in January for additional, because the most of one particular skill set you're going to need are CCAs, continuing care assistants. So they will make up the bulk of the complement of staff. So we've got people. This is a big community. We have 5,000 people in our community. This year alone, for example, we have 80 students acquiring a degree at CBU or taking a trade in the Marconi campus. So we will have the skill set.
That's fantastic.
We have a database of workers today that, in fact, we'll be employing people in the community to build it and then operate it.
That was going to be my next question. Who's actually building the facility, and will you be using your own crane company to assist with that?
If we don't, then I got a lot of questions to answer. Yeah, no, we will. We again appreciate our database. We probably have, we've got carpenters, plumbers, electricians. So all those folks will be engaged with the subcontract companies that will acquire these contracts. We put it in the writing of the RFPs. So no surprises. Companies that want to come in and tender that work will be expected to hire local content.
Excellent. And what's your ETA for completion?
Foundation will start in the spring with a build out by July of 2022. It takes about, roughly 18 to 26 months, depending on the weather. But we're hoping to be live, open up September of 2022.
And just one more question.
I just want to say, our facility is also open up to non-native patients and as well.
Great. And how many rooms does the facility have, or how many people?
It's the square footage of the facility. It's in the shape of a turtle pod. You have a central pod with 4 extended lanes, and it'll be 48 beds, 48 individual rooms. And I think it's 43,000 square feet, the actual facility.
Wow.
All one level.
Congratulations.
That's awesome.
It's a $25 million project, yeah.
That's great news. I'm not seeing any more questions in the Q&A. Tanya, am I missing any?
No.
I'm sorry, what was that?
It was a 5-year project from start to the announcement, and another 2 years to build it out. So encompassing, it's a 7-year project.
Good things, take time. So sometimes
of
too much time, but at least you're making headway and breaking ground in the spring, which is fantastic. So
it'll be the first known such a large size First Nation home in the country.
Wow.
This will be a model for First Nation communities going forward.
Amazing.
Great. Do it right and get good publicity out of it. That's fantastic. So if there are no more questions, and I'm not seeing any, Tanya, am I missing anything?
No other questions at this time.
Great. So I would like to thank you, Saeed. Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Stephen, for taking the time out of your busy schedules today to share your experiences with us.